Santosh live again. So yesterday, I was going through HTTP resource API, actually, which is a new API introduced in 19.2, but still experimental. So it's not ready for production. It may change in Angular 20, but yeah, we tried it yesterday. I really liked the API, and I shared it with some of my friends. And one thing which I also heard from others was they are surprised that it still needs provide HTTP client, which I was also surprised. But then I was talking to my friends, and then Matthew and Sander, Elias, who is also GD, they mentioned actually because this HTTP resource API uses HTTP client internally. So that's the whole reason you need to import or you need to add actually HTTP client for now or provide HTTP client when you use this. I hope it changes in future, but I can totally understand why. Because I think maybe it's because, when you start using HTTP or like you start using the functional APIs, you still need your interceptors to work. And I think this is where provide HTTP client really adds value, right? You can actually pass with interceptor and then you can pass all the interceptors there. So that might be the reason that we still need to provide HTTP client. So cool, but very, very nice API and hope it improves in future. But I think this is feedback from other developers as well. So I was not alone and confused why it's happening. So let's see what we are going to do today. So there is HTTP resource, and I thought there is an HTTP Rx resource. Let's see what's that. Is it the case? No. No. I thought there is an offset. Sorry. I thought there is an it's JS based API as well, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's go back to the documentation because today I wanted to explore. Um, yeah, this is the page. So I wanted to explore signals today. Maybe let's see. Rx resource. Yeah, this is the API I was looking at. This is also experimental, and this is for RxJS interoperability. So you know, like resource, but uses RxJS based loader, which maps the request to an observable of the resource value. Oh, nice. This is so probably what the purpose I understand is Angular team is moving from from observables to signals, and they are making like similar APIs which you can probably use. Let's say if you still need maybe RxJS based API, so you can use Rx resource and you can stop using HTTP client. So that might be the whole reason it's Rx resource also exists. So let's see if I can make a similar call using Rx resource. Let's go back to app component.ts and I'll call this as to do this is a stream, so Rx resource. Yeah, and then I think as this is an experimental API, Angular team is also looking for feedbacks. So uh, this is interesting. Come on, I'm just copy pasting. Running test handlers, click cancel to basic test. Yeah, why? It's just GPT doing weird stuff. Or sorry, Copilot doing weird stuff, but let's see. Finally, let's see how it looks like. It says no overload match this call, overload one of three. Okay, similar one similar to this. Right. So Rx resources coming from Rx interrupt. how it works. So you can use Rx resource and but uses an RxJS base loader which maps the request to an observable. So yeah, maybe I'm just using it in the wrong way. Let's see some examples. I can find. Okay, so let's see. So two signals. Yeah, I know. Output from observable. Okay, there is no example. We use this. So inject Rx resource. There are some options and then default value. I need to pass default value like resource, but uses RxJS base loader. Okay, maybe the usage is different. Let's see. Oh, so there is a resource and Rx resource. Interesting. Embedded. Okay, input. Okay, so resource API, what it does to me is synchronous, but in the it doesn't essential under asynchronous. This is where new resource API comes into picture. So you can call, oh, so this is resource API. And, oh, you can internally do fetch. Okay. And this is created or function is executed and resulting asynchronous request starts. Okay. So this is different. Uh, I was wondering it if I'm confusing it with um, the earlier API, but this is totally different. So you can call it what signal. Oh, this is nice. This is doing something else. How to consume a resource. You can pass a value, current value of the resource, status, resource, and load it. And I can also pass this loading. So I get all this value, resource value, and I can get the status of resource. Oh, wow, let's try this API. So HTTP resource, and then let's convert this to do resource. Let's try. Is this experimental? Yes. Is it experimental? No. Let's see. So let's see if it's experimental. Async creative. No. Oh, so this is still experimental. Okay. So this is experimental API. Construct a resource that projects a reactive request to an asynchronous operation defined by a loader function which exposes the result of the loading operation via signals. Okay, so let's see if there is some documentation or some reactivity with resource. So resource is experimental, is ready for you to try, but might change behavior. Okay, nice. So I can pass resource and then call here. I can call fetch user, which is just another API. So this is to load the data or retrieve the data. Can I use HTTP resource here? Let's try that out. Resource loaders, request previous, containing the previous resource status. And I can also abort the request, which is nice. Reloading, you can probably programmatically trigger resource loader. Hey Anit, how are you? So I'm just uh, so I wanted to look at the signals, and then I came across this two new APIs called resource and Rx resource. So I was just trying to figure out what are they, but looks like they are related on signal. So probably I'll start with signal rather than trying out HTTP resource. I mean, I was confused. I thought like it's related to HTTP resource, but it's a totally different API, which is interesting. So I'll just let's start looking at the signals, which I'm also really interested into exploring more because it makes, I think, Angular much simpler to understand. And so let's start from there. So if you are using Angular from a long time, Angular initially came up with like all RxJS based APIs, right? Even your router is RxJS based. Basically, it's reactive. So to introduce reactivity to Angular, the RxJS library was chosen. Like, okay, it was the chosen one. And then there was like very tight coupling between RxJS and Angular at some point of time. It was even not possible to upgrade RxJS without breaking Angular. I think that was the case as well, because Angular team always has to rely on RxJS, and we have to have a specific version of RxJS to work with Angular. And there were challenges as well. Change detection is one of the thing which people talk about, and it was not making it simpler, right? And so Angular team decided, let's move away from RxJS. Let's try to implement something new, or not try. I mean, the of course Angular team always goes into detail, like what should be the new API or how the new API should be chosen, and they did like a lot of brainstorming, and then they adopted Signals. So they worked with Ran Carniato from uh, uh, sorry, the other framework. Who Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back to, I think that was a blog post. Yeah. So Ran also has its own YouTube channel. You can probably watch his live streams. His live streams are like really big, but uh, very detailed. Like, so even like talking about topics like signals, he goes into very much in depth. And Solid.js. So he is the creator of Solid.js, and he ended up consulting with Angular team, and then Signals was chosen as the new primitive, or new primitive to actually add reactivity to the Angular code base. So that's how the origin story is. Like, this is how Signals actually made it to Angular, but it made things a lot simpler. For example, the change direction, which we keep talking about, and this is where let's talk about like a little bit of Signals, right? So let's see. So we can use Signal API, and let's go back to document, and then you can create a new signal. Uh, I think one thing about signals is they can be used outside of framework. And YouTube actually uses the signals API from Angular. So let's see, I can create a new signal, or I can convert this to a signal, maybe. Why not? But let's see, and then read a signal value. I can do it here. It's this one. So, okay, this. And then maybe I can just add, um, let's see, I'm sure ng on init is not the way, because now we don't use this. Okay, the lifecycle hooks are changed as well. I come across the constraint activity quite often. Anit has a question. So I have come across the term reactivity quite often. Could you explain what it really means? Good question. Why not? Let's go. So let me just grab the new APIs. So docs and templates. Sorry, components lifecycle. Yeah. So now this lifecycle hooks are changed. So detection, ng, on init, rendering, after render, and after next render. So runs once, the next time all components have been rendered to the DOM, runs every time all components have been rendered to the DOM. Okay, so this is after next render and this is after render. So what is the equivalent of ng on init? Let's see, inspecting changes. Of course, this is destroy ref, ng after content, active ng after, yeah, after render and after next render. So after render and after next render function, let you register a render call back to chain vec after angular function of rendering all components the page into the DOM. Okay, so this is the function are different from other lifecycle hooks. Okay, rather than class method, they are standalone function. They accept a callback. The execution of render callbacks are not tied to any specific component instance, but application wide hook. Oh, and must be called within injection context. So it should be called within constructor. Okay, and we cannot do it outside. And then these are four phases of following only read, mixed read, write, read. Lifecycle interface. Okay, so I can just go ahead and use ng on init. Hey, Ketan, thanks for joining. So on init, I just implement right. So I'll just stop with this and let's format. So we created a new signal and then we are just doing a console.log for this signal value. Ketan, do you use Angular? Do you use the new version of Angular? So let's go back. Let's inspect. Devajyoti. Hey, Devajyoti. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I did that few years back. That's why I'm now relearning all these new things. No, not everybody knows everything. It was bit old, and now I want to update that. Probably start working on my new course. That's why I'm going through all these new changes, so I can cover them if I end up creating a new one. And this is, yeah, okay. So this is the value which is printed app component .ts. So we did a console.log and then we got this value. So um, in case we want to read a signal, this is how we should be doing it. So let's go back here to see you. Oh, thank you. I generally rely, like, of course, I try to rely on Copilot as well. It's very handy. And I was trying yesterday with Owen. So, you know, and then ended up not finding it really good for Angular. Then moved to Cloud Sonnet 3.7 Sonnet Thinking, and this is nice. This model is really nice, and yeah, so far I can just go ahead and write my code without thinking much. So okay, so if I want to change the signal values, then I can call set. And if I want to update, you can also use update method to change the value based on previous value, Okay. So if let's say if they're same, it doesn't matter, right? Let's add a button. So and input or text box to update the First name. Okay, I need to remove this. Hmm. Let's see if it uses signal. I mean, update the first name signal. Okay, so it was able to figure out that okay, I'm using a signal and this. So what it is doing now? So okay, so oh no, I don't know why it needs to do this, even though target as a HTML input element. But let's see what is there in my template. Okay, so it is reading the value and then there is a div update first name. Because it's using input. Okay, that's not it. I mean, I could have added a button. Let's ask it to, and we'll add button to all update. I know, very simple use case, but still, I'm just trying to see like how it behaves different models. Okay, click, and it says update first name. Value is temp first name. I don't know why we need the temp first name in on input change. And update first name. Let's see. I can remove update first on input change. Okay, so that's why this is where the problem was. And the system first name, I don't know, because I'm not using forms API, so value is temp first name, which is a signal. Uh, Just trying to just add more code. Why not just use first name? Hmm. Let's accept this for now. And HTML, I will accept this for now. Let's see. Let's see. So let's see. This is an annoying issue which I was talking about. I need to actually test this because I need to share. I wanted to share this with Angular team to figure out what's going on here. So let me just do this quickly. So let me file this issue on GitHub. Let's stop. Mm. So it's working fine now. I can just go ahead and check and see what's happening here. And then just to let you know, Devijit and Ketan who joined learning the new version. Yeah, so I mean, the plan is because once I go through this, maybe I'll update my an old app, which is Angular 16. and then I ended up doing it Angular 17. So I'll probably update it to Angular 19 and 20 on the upcoming stream. I'm just waiting for Angular 20. Uh, Ketan, so much of authentication. Yeah, you need to keep, you need to be secure, man. Yeah, your account can get hacked. So, but yeah, the plan is like wait till Angular 20 and then update that app from Angular 17 to 18, 19, and 20, which I'll be doing in upcoming streams once Angular 20 is out, and adopt these new APIs. So the code which I had written when I started that app was, all RxJS thing, and then signals came, and then I gave up. I was like, okay, there are so many changes coming up. Control flow syntax came. I think that this is when before I started that app. So even it is not using control flow syntax at many places. So I need to go ahead and update like really everything probably you will expect it from an app which is probably written using Angular 14. So to the new APIs, I think that code base is already a little bit big, maybe a medium, not medium, but a very small size app, which has authentication and a little bit of dashboard. It has login functionality, and then it uses NGRX as well. So I think that will be a good um, practice for me as well, so I can learn about something about this APIs, right? So if you are interested, you can, of course, I'll be doing this now daily. Uh, and yeah, you can join me on that stream as well. Okay, so this is nice. I can update my name, first name, and then it uses signal-based API, so I don't have to worry about RxJS anymore. But let's go back to the question Aneet had. So Aneet asked like, um, he's hearing about reactivity a lot, right? So whenever you talk about um, uh, any framework, I think any framework, right? Let it be React, let it be Svelte, let it be Angular. You always hear about something called reactivity. So, in my understanding, the reactivity is like, of course, when let's say, uh, whenever you update your UI or you update any values, right? Here, for example, I'm just updating the name, right? First name. At the end, you have to like update this value on your DOM. Now, how it should be done? So to handle this, like everyone implements their own reactive way of doing it. RxJS does it a little bit different. RxJS uses like stream-based APIs, so it uses the streaming approach where you always receive some values, right? It will so once you open a connection. So what you mean by streaming, right? So once you open a connection, it will stream you or it can stream the data to you. Now, do we always need that in Angular or even when you are working with front end? Of course, it's useful. So, once you have a stream, you can actually do a lot of stuff. You can you can change the stream using a lot of different function, or you can say operators. So in RxJS, they're called operators. So you can say, okay, these are operators by using which I can update the stream. And then you can finally render the stream of data the way you like, but it was not always needed, right? But RxJS was good fit at that time, which actually Angular team plugged into the framework, and it handled all this reactive update to the DOM. Over the years, many teams tried different approach. I think React used to have VDOM. Now they are doing different stuff, and Angular in when they spoke with Rand Carniato, they said, okay, let's implement the signal based approach. And they like there was two things. Angular team also wanted to remove Zone.js. So it's just if you read or if you read a lot about change detection, you will always hear about Zone.js. Okay, how Zone.js comes into picture. uh, was it always needed? The answer is, of course, yes. You need uh, Zone.js to make it work, but in future you don't. So Angular team can also, with the help of signals, Angular team can also actually remove the dependency on Zone.js. It was an library again, which was maintained by Angular. Yes, okay, then there are uh, so many changes after Angular 14. So. Uh, Zone.js was actually like created as a library to handle all this updates to your UI, so it can handle like your any asynchronous calls, right? Whenever you update your DOM, like it goes to zone.js calls your update. Uh, you can say, yeah, it updates your state basically, and then everything is rendered on your screen, you're happy. But it's like a lot of magic. You can avoid it if you're using something called on push. I'm sure like a lot of Angular developers knows about on push because at some point of time they reached a stage where they found performance issues. So they said, oh, there is a lot of performance issues because a lot of re-rendering is happening. And then you moved on to on push to solve this issue. With signals, you can actually move your state to a local state. So when I use this signal here, so when I created a new signal called first name, so this is a signal which is created, and this has a contract. So it's like Angular team knows, okay, this value whenever it is read and whenever it is updated. So all this graph, actually Angular internally creates a graph and keeps the track of the signals, which was not possible with RxJS, and Zone.js comes into the picture. So you can avoid all those. And now this is a new reactive way of developing your application. So these are all changes which is happening because of Signal. And let's do one thing. We are here, so I'll just ask ChatGPT. Set done. Mm, I'll just remove this on input change and this. Let's ask ChatGPT of chat. Mm, Imported question, manage Copilot. New explain reactivity. Let's see what Copilot says. So, Anit, yeah, you see, so it says reactivity in Angular refers to how the framework automatically updates the UI when the underlying data changes. So this was earlier being handled using RxJS. Now we are moving towards more on signal level. So now signals can handle this. Uh, so zone.js, this will go away because now Angular team or Angular framework knows like what values will be updated and how they will be updated, because there is always a contract when you create a new signal. And then so of course change section. So in zone.js, it's whenever you click a button, it actually triggers zone.js handles that button, and then it triggers all the change section for us. And with signal based, it's like you have a local state. So yeah, we can avoid zone.js. That's why Angular 20 will have the zoneless change direction. I think that's going to be enabled by default when you create a new Angular 20 app, because now there is an API for everything which you can do with Signal. And of course, there are like uh, yeah, so many things which you can do, but the important concept is this. So you have to always understand that, okay, whenever you write some UI, at the end you have to update that data on the UI, otherwise it's useless. And how you do that, how efficiently you can do that, is based on the implementation by the framework. And Angular relied on RxJS earlier. Now they don't. So let's accept this. This is a good question because I'm also revisiting my knowledge, or going through like what other things changed. Good. So let's see. And first name, I have added a console.log. Let's see what happens when I update the data. So this is very interesting because I want to see. Uh, so first name update, nothing happens. Update, and this uh, the system first name because I lost this. I think that was needed. I removed the code, which is updating or just setting the first name. So yeah, it won't be needed if I use the form APIs, but I just want to see the console. What happens in case the value changes? So let's see. I want to do is console.log. Additional edit. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to Angular 20. So what any specific API or any specific feature you're excited about in Angular 20? Uh, Anit, I think they made it optional in Angular 20. You mean the zone, right? Zone.js. Yeah. So Anit mentioned that they have made it optional in Angular 20. So that's yeah. So this it's actually there was an API to make it optional, and now that will be default. Want to build a nice clone of Vibo. He says I want to build a nice clone of Vibo site. What do you think is a good project? Of course, go ahead and try that out. Nice. And if you're using Angular, let me know. Signal can work with on push. The activities like when you set timeout and other APIs. And activities like when we set timeout and repairs, but then things are created in RxJS is in better way like debounce, etc. I think it depends, right? I mean, there are two types of people out there, or two types of developers, as we say. That someone who likes more native APIs, and someone who likes more. RxJS is really powerful. That's an amazing library. I really love it. I mean, if I have to use, of course, I'll probably use all those or RxJS based APIs, interop libraries. You call it as interop libraries, right? I'll probably reach out for those interop libs or interop APIs to still like use RxJS with signals. That's why Angular team actually took this approach where they want to make sure that every API which they are building has an equivalent RxJS API as well. You don't want to actually let the developers go who are really comfortable using RxJS, right? And who understands the value? I think that's the more important question to ask. Does your team understands the value of using RxJS? Because there are so many teams. I mean, I'll talk about my experience when I started using Angular 4 into 2017. The other team, which I was working with, they were still using like promises. So, they used to call like after all RxJS call, they used to wrap it with to promise. Eventually, to promise became deprecated, but there was a like 1 hour call just to discuss about should we use observables or just you should or we should just use to promise. 1 hour call, very useless call. And that's the reality of our industry. There are developers who are really don't care about learning new stuff. There are developers who are like, okay, they slowly get used to things. So even when I probably tried RxJS for the first time, I was like, oh, what is this thing? Why this is so complicated? But eventually I became really fond of it. Like it's, oh wow, this is amazing. So and then you become used to it and then you realize the true value of RxJS. But there are developers who don't want to, right? So yeah, so it's like what really matters. Do you want to improve your knowledge or you're comfortable using whatever native APIs are? Let's see if I'm able to. Okay, so this. does console.log. It then says RxJS is better, but need experience, of course. Yes, exactly. That's what I was saying, right? Even like when I tried for the first time, I was like, what's this? And then eventually I figured out, okay, this is very powerful API and I should be using it wherever possible. And then RxJS with a sync pipe was like a way for like building more performant apps. Now it's not needed, which is good thing, right? I mean, remember one thing, this is what I believe in. Developers should be writing more efficient code without thinking much about what goes internally. And once you start using signals, you as a developer, you don't have to worry about what internals are. You write the code which works efficiently, which works on a large scale app, and that's what organizations need. They don't need fancy APIs. I will not call it fancy APIs. RxJS is amazing, but still, right? You don't need to know like that much internals to make your performant app. If you are writing a framework, of course, if you're writing something from scratch, you need to. But especially in terms of in case of frameworks, I think frameworks should hide this complexity, and that's why they are called frameworks. Same applies to Java or .NET, right? They are frameworks and they hide a lot of complexity which you don't have to do. For example, creating an REST-based APIs, you can just do it using the APIs created by Java, .NET, Spring Boot, and even like some other tools, right? Or any other framework. You don't have to go internally and see, okay, how do I make TCP IP protocol, how I made a connection to the internet, and how should I send the data, what kind of data. All these complexities are hidden because you're using a framework. The same applies to front-end framework. That's what I believe in. And good thing about now Angular is like they're trying to hide those complexities, which is nice stuff. More developers will adopt this framework because you always keep hearing from developers, right? RxJS is hard to learn. Nice. So, uh, temp first name, it's just printing it only first time when and then that's it. So we have first name and then it's not printing it again. So I think I can remove this. This is so input change. So set, and there was an update as well, which I can do based on the previous value. Let's try update. Okay. So I can say this is name. See if it's actually giving me the previous value. String void is not assignable. Why? This was the API. Name. Ah, okay. So it's not a function. It's not like this. So name and then argument of type string. It says update function. Yeah, it's okay. It takes update function and then returns the. What's wrong with this? Yeah. Hmm. And string is void. Type void is not assignable to string. What I'm missing? Update function. Returns T. That's what I'm doing, right? I sleep on the signals. Signal based. Update the value of the signal based on its current value and notify any dependence. So if I remove this, so next signal performance list. Okay, so we have update and then there's a computed function. So computed expression, which is compute the signal that produces value based on the other signal. Okay, so I can say, okay, oh, this is the good use case for all the pipes, if I remember. So I can use this and do something like this. I think I can use the same. So I can pass use computed from angular signals or angular 4. Okay. So angular 4 and then remove this const. This is first name, so I have to say this to first name. Lowercase. Cannot find first name. Yeah, I just updated it. Let's see. So I need to use this signal or computed signal. So rather than this first name, I'll say, okay, use the computed first name. And one more thing about signal is it's lazy, I think. It's lazy. So let's go back to the documentation. Let's see. Annual tracks where signals are read and when they are updated. The framework uses this information to do additional work, such as updating the DOM with new state. So the ability to respond changing signal values over time is known as reactivity. Basically, yes, this is what we are doing. And then signals are lazy. So until unless you read them, it means, and to read them is like using this or unwrapping what this is what we call them. Until unless you don't unwrap a signal, this will not be read. So they are lazy by implementation, which was the case with RxJS as well. So without behind like idea of choosing signal, this was also a thing which went into consideration, right? Because when new API should come into the picture, it should be lazy as well. It should not be like as soon as you provide the value, you're reading it or it's available for you. With RxJS, it's same. RxJS is also lazy until unless you subscribe to it, you will not get any value. Same goes to signals until unless you unwrap it or until unless you read it, nothing happens. So very, very good point when it comes to the activity. Let's go back and see. So we have, oh, this is capital. Date. Nice. So this is computer signal. So now I can throw out all my pipes maybe and just use computer signals to update we have or to use such cases where I need this. Nice. What else? What RxJS or what else they have? So computer signals in depth signal guide. Signal is a wraparound value that notifies interested consumer when the value changes. Signals can contain any value from primitive to complex data structure. So I think this is same you can do with RxJS. And there are writable signals as well, updating their values directly to create a writable signal by calling signal function is signal initial value. Okay, so if I create a signal with initial value, it means it's a writable signal, which is the case in So I think first name and then first name, it's both are writable signals. And then I can use set or update to update the value and compute a new value from the previous one. Okay, so this is how it should be. Okay, and computed signals are read-only signals. Okay, so okay, this is the difference. Okay, so this first name capitalized, which is signal now, is read-only. So signal of string, but there's nothing defined if it's read-only or write. Okay, so this is writable signal, and this is a signal of type string, so it's not writable. So that's the difference between computed signal and signals. Computed signals are both lazy evaluated and memoized. Okay, so this is one concept I think a lot of React developer knows about, memoization. Um, and I think in RxJS we literally never thought much about it, but this is a very important concept when it comes to front end development, right? And I think it's even programming, that how should memoization. That's, I don't know how it's very difficult to pronounce. Yeah, how it works. So very important in case you need a performant application. So computer signals do both, which is nice. So basically, let's talk a little bit about memoized or memoization, right? So it basically remembers the previous values, and it can, let's say if nothing changes, it can replay the same value, and which like never updates your state. So your like update or uh, what do you say? Let's yeah. So there's no effect of like not running change direction and everything. That gets skipped. So it's very important to understand this concept as well. Computer signals are not writable, of course. Good thing. Computer signal dependencies are dynamic. This is nice. What is this? So only the signals actually read during the deviation are tracked. For example, the count signal is only read if the show count signal is true. So this conditional count. Okay, let me understand this. How what it says. Computer signals dependencies are dynamic. So if show count is updated, then in that case only the conditional count works, or it triggers something, or it changes the value. Basically, it changes value of the count. Otherwise, nothing happens. Oh, nice. This is nice. So you can also do this based on the condition. Reading signals in on push component. This is important. When you read a signal with on push component template, Angular tracks the signal as dependency of the component. When the value of that signal changes, Angular automatically marks the component to ensure it gets updated the next time change direction runs. Refer to skipping components subtree guide for more information about on push. So if I don't use on push, does it behave the same way as earlier? Good question. Maybe I need to read more about like how it behaves. Effects. Signals are useful because they notify interested consumers when they change. An effect is an operation that runs whenever one or more signal value changes. You can create an effect with effect function. Effect always runs at least once. When the effect runs, it tracks any signal value reads. Whenever any of the signal value changes, the effect runs again. Similar to computer signal, effect keeps track of their dependencies dynamically and only tracks signals which were read in the most recent execution. Effects always execute asynchronously during the change detection process. Okay, let's see. Hmm. So that download.info.co, and the current or the name is what's the name? So this dot forest. Let me just call this. Okay, so if I'm right, every time the first name is updated, it should do a console.log. Let's see. I'll just remove this for the time being. So it says this dot first name. Okay, let's see. And let's wait again. Effect can be only used within an injection context, such as constructor, a factory function, a field initializer. Okay, so can I do this? Hmm, change. Okay, so it works. It means I cannot use it inside ng on init, and the name is not. I think not. Not. Subhashish. Hello, sir. Yeah. I am a fresher at Tier 3 college. Do I get invested in product-based companies? Good question. I think there are many ways. Subhashish. I'm not sure like why people think about like they're from tier two, tier three colleges, and because in my time there was no we never spoke about this like tier two, tier three colleges. I think depends upon you, your work, your effort you put into. So I think start getting involved into the communities. There are a lot of conferences, meetups which happens. Go there, learn about things, share your knowledge, and I'm sure by the time you complete your college, you will have good networking, good visibility within the community. So once you probably apply for a job, people already know you. Maybe the chances are high, right? If you just keep thinking about, oh, this is my college sucks, nothing will happen. Believe me, that's useless. Like talking about that is useless. Okay, so with the effect, I can track the changes uh, to my signals. Okay, this is nice. So whenever there is first name which gets changed, I can track using my effect function. So this is what effect is. I think effect is something which I came across when I was learning about Vue.js. So this is nice. So they always execute asynchronously during the change direction process. It tracks any signal value reads whenever any of the signal value change. I need to run more like what are use cases. This is important. Use cases for effects are rarely needed in most application code. Good. So if I rarely need it, probably I'll never need it. Here's some situation, logging data being displayed when it changes either for analytics or debugging tool. Oh, okay, so analysis for analysis, yes. Keeping data in sync with window.local storage. Okay, adding custom DOM behavior that can't be expressed with templates and tags. Performing a custom rendering to canvas charting library. Oh, when not to use effects, avoid using effects for propagation of state changes. This can result in expression changed, or the very famous expression change after it has been changed, it has been checked error. Infinite circular updates or unnecessary change directions like this. Good thing is like maybe I don't have to worry about this error anymore if I use signal instead use computer signals to model state that depends on the other side. Nice injection context. This is nice. I actually wanted to by default you can only create an effect within an injection context wherever you have access to the inject function. So I have inject function available inside constructor. Okay, that's why. So I can use inside constructor or property initialization. So I can also use outside as I did. And then this is the use case which I went ahead with. Why did you have to put the if in effect function? So Anit, this is the section I'm just going through. So you can all only use the effect inside an injection context. And what it means by injection context is wherever we have access to inject function. And in Angular, you can use inject function either inside constructor or during property initialization. So in my case, I ended up doing this is property initialization, right? So this is what I ended up doing. I can also put this inside constructor. It will work. So yeah, so this is the limitation of this API and nothing else. So you cannot use it anywhere else. So alternately, you can assign the effect to a field, and to create an effect outside the constructor, you can pass. Okay, and this is another way. If I want to use inside a function or outside the constructor, then I have to create an inject manually. I think this is what it is saying. So I can create an injector and then pass the injector to this function. I'm not sure, like if there are not enough use cases for effects, probably I will not do this. Destroying effects, you can also destroy effects. This is nice. Maybe the case of logging, where I don't want effects to always run. At some point of time, I want to destroy the effects so the logging stops working. So this is nice. So I can get the reference, effects return and effect reference, and you can destroy them manually by calling destroy method. Okay, let's go ahead and try this out. We already have effect function. It means it reference effect reference, and I can do something like stop logging, and here I can say this stop effect function dot destroy. So let's put a button and all stop logging. So just in case anyone else is interested in seeing what the question was. Okay, so let's see. I can still say, okay, so I'm getting this if due to effect function because it logs every time I do this. And let's stop logging and update. And oh, nice. And now the effect is not running. So whenever I update, I don't get anything into log. This is nice. I mean, this is very useful in case I want to build my own uh, debugger, right? Where I can say, hey, start debugging, and then it starts like logging everything into a console or maybe a small component which is rendered. And then I can click on stop logging and says, okay, now it's stopped. You will not see anything. Nice use case. I mean, that's a nice use case. Cool. So far, the API looks amazing. So I think I'll stop here for today. It's already 1 hour. So what I did or learned today, of course, thanks to Aneet, I came across this question again, that what reactivity means, and we were able to confirm that my answer was right from ChatGPT as well, or Copilot, you can say. I ended up using Copilot. Uh, so, and then signals, what signals are, how to use it, signal, computed signal, and then we started like talking about effect function, which where we stopped. And now I want to explore next is, we'll start from here, advanced topics, and see where we go, because there's something called linked signal, which is really nice. And I'll we'll learn this tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. Maybe I'm not sure like how this useful this live streams are for you, but for me, it's like I'm just doing it so I can revise all this stuff, right? And one thing is like, of course, I'm not uh, scared to be wrong, right? I mean, it's okay. I can be wrong as well. So I learn something new. So good to have all of you in chat. Um, yeah. Sunny says I'm going and learning more about effect. You have left me curious. So nice. So yeah, when I join tomorrow, probably you will be able to help me with the different use cases as well. So yep. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye. And yeah, bye, Ketan.